I woke up in a novel, not as the hero, but as the designated punching bag, the three-chapter wonder, the villain who existed only to be crushed. I was Leo Vance, a trust fund brat with more money than sense and a shelf life shorter than a carton of milk. According to the plot, I was destined for a spectacular flameout. The hero would systematically humiliate me, bankrupt my family's company, and leave me for dead in a gutter somewhere. Yeah, no thanks. I'm tired. Let the world burn. My plan? Do absolutely nothing. The hero wants to infiltrate my company as an intern. I'll find his resume and personally feed it to the shredder. This man, I'll say, is never to be hired. My Ice Queen fiancée wants to publicly dump me to cement her girl boss reputation. I'll serve her the breakup papers first. Catherine, we're done. Then I'll fire my posse of fair-weather friends and backstabbing executives, bundle up the entire company, and hand the keys to my one loyal manager. Chen, it's all yours now. Don't call me unless the building is on fire. And even then, text first. My new life goal, early retirement. From that day on, the city's gossip columns would lose a spoiled playboy, and the world would gain a master of leisure. But I never imagined that doing nothing could go so spectacularly wrong. Mr. Vance, here is the latest batch of resumes for your review. Chun, my perpetually stressed-out assistant, placed a thick folder on the polished mahogany of my desk. I pinched the bridge of my nose, a hangover hammering against my skull like a drum solo. My eyes struggled to focus on the sprawling city skyline framed by the floor-to-ceiling windows of an office, so luxurious it was practically obscene. Wait, wasn't I just pulling an all-nighter in my crappy studio apartment, binge-reading some web novel before my heart gave out? How did I get here? A flood of unfamiliar memories crashed into my brain, and the horrifying truth settled in. I'd been reborn, dropped right into the pages of the cheesy thriller I was reading before I died. The Alpha's Return. And my new identity? The cannon fodder villain with the exact same name as me, Leo Vance. A textbook-rich idiot designed to hand the hero everything on a silver platter. Experience, assets, even his own fiancée. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. According to the script, the novel's hero, Jake Evans, was at this very moment disguised as a nobody in that stack of resumes, ready to start his corporate espionage tour that would end with him dancing on my grave. Meanwhile, my brilliant fiancée, Catherine Pierce, was sharpening her knives for our family's engagement party in 3 days. She planned to announce our breakup in front of everyone, making me the laughingstock of New York society. From there, it was a quick slide to bankruptcy, homelessness, and an ignominious end at the hands of one of the hero's flunkies. A shiver went down my spine. Not on my watch. But what was I supposed to do? Go head-to-head with a protagonist who had plot armor thicker than a bank vault? I was just a regular guy who wanted to clock out and collect a paycheck. Forget it. If you can't beat him, run away. What a business empire compared to my own life. I knew what I had to do. Embrace the slacker life. I grabbed the folder of resumes and started flipping through them. Sure enough, tucked between Ivy League graduates and seasoned professionals was a painfully average application. The name on top, Jake Evans. I pulled out the single sheet of paper and, under Chen's bewildered gaze, fed it directly into the shredder next to my desk. The machine whirred to life. Mr. Vance, the man has poor character, I said, pulling the excuse out of thin air. Blackball him. I'm the boss, I get to be petty. One problem down. I felt lighter already. Next, I picked up my phone and dialed the number of my so-called fiancée, Catherine Pierce. It rang for an eternity before she picked up, her voice as crisp and cold as ice. What is it? Catherine, we need to meet. It's about the engagement. I am Busu. We can talk at the party in 3 days, she said, her tone dripping with impatience. No, now, right now, I said, my voice leaving no room for argument. I'm downstairs from your office. You have 10 minutes. If you're not here, you'll regret it. I hung up before she could respond. I knew Catherine. Her pride couldn't stand being threatened, but her control-freak nature couldn't stand a loose thread even more. I had to disrupt her schedule, seize the narrative. Better to be the one who strikes than the one who gets struck. I grabbed my suit jacket. Chun, I said to my still-frozen assistant, from now on, you're in charge of all corporate decisions. Sell off those garbage startup investments, all of them. Our goal isn't to make money. It's to not lose money. Keep things stable. What? Mr. Vance, I can't possibly. It's decided. Don't bother me. I'm off to find my purpose in life. My purpose was to eat well, get in shape, and live to a ripe old age of 99. Alpha heroes and Ice Queen CEOs could all go to hell. Downstairs at Pierce Tower, I leaned against my McLaren, drawing more than a few stares for passersby. It took less than 5 minutes for a striking figure to emerge from the building's revolving doors. Catherine Pierce, dressed in a tailored white pantsuit, her hair in a severe bun, looked every bit the corporate titan. Her eyes, cold and sharp, were fixed on me as she clicked across the pavement in her heels. Leo, what is this ridiculous stunt? Her voice was laced with undisguised contempt. I couldn't blame her. The old Leo was a mess, a playboy who wasn't fit to lick the boots of this business prodigy. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. I pulled a document from my jacket and handed it to her. What's this? She asked, her brow furrowed. The termination of our engagement contract. Her eyes widened just for a second. The first crack in that perfectly polished facade. She looked at me as if she'd never seen me before. What did you say? I said, we're done. I repeated, pointing to the signature line. I've already signed it. We're free to marry whomever we please. We're strangers from now on. Catherine stared at me, her gaze turning analytical, suspicious. She probably thought this was another one of my pathetic ploys for her attention. Leo, cut the act. I don't have time for your games. Games? I let out a short, humorless laugh. Catherine, you really think too highly of yourself. The simple truth is, you're not good enough for me. You. Her face went pale, her chest heaving with indignation. I savored the sight of her composure shattering. So, you wanted to humiliate me? I beat you to the punch. That's all. Take care of yourself. I turned my back on her, slid into the driver's seat, and hit the gas. The engine roared to life, and I sped away, leaving Catherine Pierce standing alone on the sidewalk, a storm brewing in her eyes. She clutched the document, her knuckles white. She couldn't understand how the pathetic puppy who used to follow her around had suddenly become so decisive, so alien. Driving away, I hummed a cheerful tune. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Chun. Mr. Vance, I've liquidated the assets as you instructed. Several of those were hot-ticket investments. Are you sure this was wise? It seems like a terrible waste. I glanced at the message and typed back 2 words. Do it. A waste? In a few days, a scandal on Wall Street was going to trigger a market crash. Those hot-tick investments were about to become toxic debt, the very poison that would have sunk the original Leo's company. I wasn't throwing money away. I was performing a life-saving amputation. Of course, I wasn't going to explain that to anyone. Explaining things is exhausting. It didn't fit my new persona. From this day forward, my retirement begins. First stop, a membership at the most exclusive gym in the city. 8-pack abs, here I come. For the next few days, I vanished. No office, no nightclubs, no contact with my old crowd. My life became a model of discipline. I woke up without an alarm, hit the gym for 2 hours, and then had Chin arrange for a rotating selection of signature dishes from the city's top restaurants to be delivered to my penthouse overlooking the Hudson. Afternoons were for lounging on the balcony, soaking up the sun, reading up on how to brew my own craft beer. Evenings were for hot baths and old movies, with a strict 10 p.m. bedtime. This simple, boring life of the ultra-rich was awesome. Chin called me several times, his voice growing more frantic with each call. Mr. Vance, you're a prophet. A massive scandal just broke on Wall Street. The market is in free fall. All those assets we dumped are worthless now. The companies that bought them are on the verge of bankruptcy. And then, a day later, Mr. Vance. Not only did we avoid the crash, but by cashing out when we did, we now have billions in liquid capital sitting in our accounts. Everyone is calling you a financial wizard. I was enjoying the jets in my jacuzzi, and I yawned. Good to know. Don't interrupt my bath time. I hung up and sighed in contentment. I wasn't a wizard. I just had the cheat codes. But Chun was proving to be incredibly efficient. Leaving the company in his hands was the right call. Just then, my phone rang again. The caller ID read Catherine Pierce. I silenced it and tossed it aside. But she was persistent, calling again and again. Annoyed, I finally answered. What now, Catherine? Did you lose the papers? There was a pause on the other end. When she spoke, her voice had lost its usual arrogance. It was replaced by something more complex, more hesitant. Did you know something was going to happen? She was talking about the market crash. The Pierce Family Corporation had taken a significant hit. Know what? That you were going to dump me? Honey, I've known that for ages, I said, playing dumb. I'm not talking about that. Her voice was strained. I'm talking about the investments. Why did you sell everything? Oh, that. I shifted into a more comfortable position in the tub. I just had a bad feeling about them. So I sold. Is there a problem? Dead silence. I could almost picture the kaleidoscope of emotions on her face. The man she'd written off as a fool had just executed a maneuver so perfectly timed that even she, a supposed genius, had been caught flat-footed. That kind of cognitive dissonance had to sting. Leo, she finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. Who are you? I chuckled. Someone you'll never be able to afford. Then for the second time, I hung up on her. God, that felt good. Knocking the high and mighty CEO off her pedestal was more satisfying than I could have imagined. In such a good mood, I decided to go out and treat myself. I'd heard about a new private dessert bar that had opened downtown, by appointment only. My new healthy lifestyle was missing a little bit of sugar. The shop was an elegant little place called Ivy's Place, tucked away on a quiet corner, with climbing roses framing the entrance. A small bell chimed as I pushed the door open. The interior was warm and quiet, all natural wood and soft lighting, with the sweet scent of cream and baking in the air. A young woman in a simple white dress stood behind the counter, meticulously dusting cocoa powder over a tiramisu. She was focused on her work, her head slightly bowed, revealing the graceful curve of her neck. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching in her hair and creating a soft halo around her. For a second, my heart skipped a beat. An angel? That was the only word for it. Could this be the novel's secret heroine? No, the book only had Catherine. Did my actions create some kind of butterfly effect? She must have sensed me staring, because she looked up and offered a small, shy smile. Welcome, sir. Do you have a reservation? Her voice was like cool water, soft and pleasant. Her smile was like the winter sun, warming me right to the core. I felt a stir of something I hadn't felt in a long time, the basic primal instinct of man. I do. The name's Leo, I said, regaining my composure and taking a seat at the counter. Of course, mister. Leo, you ordered the summer breeze. She slid the freshly decorated tiramisu in front of me. An intricate feather was stenciled on top, garnished with a few perfect blueberries. It looked like a work of art. I took a bite. It melted on my tongue, a perfect harmony of bitter coffee, sweet cream, and rich rum. It was complex and delicious, not cloying at all. How is it? She asked, her big eyes blinking with anticipation. It's incredible, I said, and I meant it. It was the best tiramisu I'd had in 2 lifetimes. My praise made her smile widen, her eyes curving into happy crescents. I'm so glad you like it. Just then, a fluffy British short-hair cat emerged from under the counter, leaped gracefully onto the stool next to me, and began rubbing its round head against my arm. Oh, Pudding, don't bother the guest, the girl said, moving to pick him up. It's fine. I like cats, I said, scratching Pudding under the chin. He started to purr, a low rumble of contentment. He seems to really like you, she said, surprised. I just smiled. I was a cat dad in my previous life. I knew my way around these furry little tyrants. We started talking, a comfortable, easy conversation. I learned her name was Ivy, and she was the owner and sole pastry chef. She seemed curious about me, her eyes occasionally drifting to the expensive Patek Philippe on my wrist. Mr. Leo, she asked tentatively, what is it that you do? I took another bite of cake and replied slowly. Me? I am professionally unemployed. My specialty is doing nothing. Ivy clearly didn't get the slang. She just tilted her head, a look of adorable confusion on her face. I didn't explain. After finishing the dessert, I said my goodbyes. In the days that followed, I became a regular at Ivy's place. I discovered that Ivy was a treasure. She wasn't just a baker. She could brew the most amazing tea, and she was skilled in flower arranging and painting. She had a gentle, kind soul, always smiling. If a stray cat or dog wandered in, she'd be the first to offer it food and water. Being with her felt like the world was slowing down like finding a pocket of perfect peace. I was hopelessly, completely hooked. Meanwhile, the legend of Leo Vance was growing wilder by the day. It started when a financial reporter, desperate for a scoop, staked out my penthouse for 3 days straight. All he got were pictures of me sunbathing, walking my dog, and sipping tea. In a fit of frustration, he wrote an article titled, "The Mysterious Private Life of Billion-Dollar Trader Leo Vance." He won't even get out of bed. The feature photo was me, blissfully asleep in a lounge chair. The article went viral. The hashtag Leo Vance woke up yet started trending on Twitter. And the weirdest part? The stock price of my company, which Shun was managing with brutal efficiency, soared. It hit the limit up several days in a row. Investors went nuts. See, this is how the real titans operate. The fact that Leo Vance can't be bothered to get out of bed means he's completely confident. Everything is under control. Exactly. It's the ultimate hands-off management approach. We just have to ride his coattails and get rich. I'm officially a Leo Vance stan. Leo Vance woke up yet day 1 check-in. When Shin called me, his voice was trembling. "Mr. Vance, our company's market cap has doubled. Again." I was at Ivy's shop, my golden retriever, Barney, playing with her cat, Pudding. "Uh-huh," I said, distracted. "Sir, they're calling you the boy wonder of Wall Street. Catherine Pierce's people have been trying to schedule a meeting for weeks, but I've been putting them off." "Should I?" "Keep putting them off," I said without hesitation. "Block any and all meeting requests from Pierce Corp." I hung up, and Ivy brought me a plate of freshly baked madeleines. "Busy with work again?" she asked softly. "Not really," I said, picking up a warm cookie, "just declining pointless social obligations." She looked at me for a moment, then burst out laughing. "Is it true what they're saying online? That you really never get out of bed?" I raised an eyebrow. "You believe that?" "I just think," she said, propping her chin on her hand and smiling at me, "that someone like you must be so brilliant that you don't need to be busy like the rest of us." There was no doubt in her eyes, only pure admiration and trust. At that moment, something deep inside me shifted. This girl, she saw past the slacker persona to something else. She was an incredible, unbelievable treasure. To create a more legitimate excuse to do nothing all day, I arranged for my golden retriever, Barney, to be boarded at Ivy's shop. The official reason was to give Pudding some company. Barney was a social butterfly. Pudding was a standoffish queen. Against all odds, the dog and cat became an inseparable, odd couple duo. Barney trailed Pudding everywhere like a lovesick bodyguard. And while Pudding pretended to be annoyed, she'd always sneak him half of her salmon treats. This gave me the perfect reason to visit the shop every day to check on Barney, which really meant mooching free desserts and spending time with Ivy. Our connection grew deeper. I learned she was an only child from a happy, loving family, and she'd opened the shop purely for the love of baking, not for profit. She learned I was a foodie, a fitness enthusiast, and had a surprising interest in brewing. One day, I saw her struggling to come up with a new menu item. I casually suggested, "Maybe you could try combining elderflower liqueur with honey to make a mousse." Her eyes lit up, and she dashed into the kitchen. An hour later, she emerged with a glistening, perfect mousse, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Leo, you have to try this. The flavor is amazing." She'd used my first name. It felt natural, right? My heart did a little flip. "Of course, Ivy," I said, smiling back. She froze for a second, then a cute pink blush spread across her cheeks as she looked down and mumbled a quiet, "Okay." I tasted the mousse. The floral notes of the elderflower and the sweetness of the honey were a perfect, unique combination. A work of genius, I told her, giving her a thumbs up. She got a little flustered by the praise and reached up to tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear, accidentally brushing her hand against my arm. Her fingertips were cool and soft. We both froze, a jolt of electricity passing between us. I could see the blush on her cheeks deepen to the color of a ripe peach. She snatched her hand back. Sorry, I didn't mean to." I couldn't help but laugh at how flustered and cute she looked. I caught her hand before she could pull it away completely and placed it flat against my abs. "If you want to touch, just touch. It's not like I'm going to stop you." Ivy's hand was pressed against hard, warm muscle. Her face exploded in red. She was completely rigid, like a startled rabbit, her eyes wide as she stared at me, too shocked to move. The few other customers in the shop saw the whole thing and started giggling behind their hands. I was in a fantastic mood. My plan for a life of leisure, complete with a beautiful wife and peak happiness, was right on schedule. The peace didn't last long. Shin called again, his tone grim this time. "Mr. Vance, we have a problem. Jake Evans, the guy whose resume you shredded, he's back. He got funding from somewhere, started a new investment firm, and he's launching a market assault against us." Jake Evans. Right, the novel's hero. I'd almost forgotten about him. What can he possibly do? I asked, unconcerned. I was busy learning how to make fondant decorations with Ivy. He's hired some elite hackers. They've been attacking our trading systems, causing chaos. And he's spreading rumors that your genius market predictions were just dumb luck, and that your luck has run out. The stock is starting to dip. Oh, was all I said. Mr. Vance, Shin sounded like he was about to cry. The whole company is in a panic. The executives are about to have a collective meltdown. What's there to panic about? I said, blowing gently on the tiny fondant rabbit I just made. That's what I pay you people for. If you can't handle a little problem like this, why are you on my payroll? I hung up and switched my phone to silent. I handed the fondant rabbit to Ivy, who took it with a delighted smile and placed it carefully on a cupcake. "Work stuff again?" she asked. "Just some wannabe trying to make a name for himself. Nothing to worry about," I said, dusting the sugar off my hands. And I really wasn't worried. Since taking over, besides firing Jake Evans and dumping those toxic assets, the only other executive decision I'd made was to increase the salaries and bonuses for my entire senior staff by a factor of 10. Money is a great motivator, and I was paying them far beyond any industry standard. My team was practically tripping over each other to prove their worth to their mysterious, invisible boss. They were in a frenzy of overachievement. What chance did a washed-up hero with no plot armor have against a team like that? Sure enough, 2 days later, a victory report from Chun arrived via text. "Mr. Vance, it's done. We not only patched the system, but we backtraced the attack and took down their entire hacker team. Turns out it was one of Pierce Corp's rivals funding the whole thing, using Evans as a pawn. We have concrete proof, our lawyers have been dispatched, and their stock is already in a nosedive. Also, Evans's company is under federal investigation for illegal market manipulation. He's been arrested for corporate espionage. Sir, your foresight is unparalleled. Your hands-off approach is the highest form of mastery." I shook my head at Chin's long-winded praise. I didn't have foresight. I was just lazy. My subordinates were just a pack of wolves fighting for scraps of my approval. As the boss, it seemed there was literally nothing for me to do but lie back and relax. Life at the top, I sighed, staring dramatically at the ceiling, is so lonely. Ivy, who was brushing Barney's fur nearby, shot me a look. "Oh, please. I saw you almost get into a fist fight with Barney yesterday over the last slice of matcha crepe cake." I had nothing to say to that. The annual Foundation Charity Gala was the premier event of the New York social season. As the sole heir to the Vance fortune, I had no desire to go. But then Ivy told me her desserts had been selected for the event, and she had to attend as the head pastry chef. That settled it. I had to be there for her. When I showed up in a tailored suit with Ivy on my arm, we immediately became the center of attention. The men stared at Ivy, who looked radiant. The women stared at me. After all, I was now the city's infamous boy wonder, the slacker genius, and most importantly, single, handsome, and obscenely rich. A parade of socialites tried to strike up conversations, but I politely shut them all down. My eyes were only for Ivy. I adjusted the hem of her dress, fetched her a glass of warm fruit juice she liked, and ignored everyone else. "Are you tired? We can go sit down," I murmured, my voice soft. "I'm okay," she whispered back. "Just a little nervous. There are so many important people here." "Don't worry," I said, ruffling her hair gently. "I'm here." Our cozy little bubble was in stark contrast to the storm brewing in the corner of the room, where Catherine Pierce stood watching us. Tonight, she was still a star, dressed in a stunning black couture gown that made her look like a regal black swan. But her expression was a complex mixture of emotions as she sipped her wine and stared. She hadn't contacted me since I'd refused her meeting, but I knew she was watching. Every time my company's stock jumped because of some new meme about my laziness, it was another slap at her face. The man she despised was now someone she had to look up to. That had to burn. The whispers started around us. Isn't that Catherine Pierce's ex, Leo Vance? Who's the girl with him? She's beautiful. No idea, but look at how he treats her. He hasn't taken his eyes off her all night. Look at Catherine's face. Ouch. She's the one who broke it off because she thought he was a loser, right? But she's regretting that now. Seriously, she let Diamond in the rough go, and now he's with someone else. Serves her right. The comments were just loud enough for Catherine to hear. Her face paled, her grip on her wine glass tightening. I saw it, but I pretended I didn't. I wanted her to see, to hear, to regret it all. This was the ultimate payoff for the disposable villain I was supposed to be. I leaned down and whispered to Ivy, loud enough for those nearby to hear. Ivy, your pastries are the best thing here. Can we get a doggy bag to take home for a midnight snack? Ivy blushed and nodded obediently. Okay. Public displays of affection and blatant favoritism, blinding everyone with our happiness felt, in a word, amazing. Halfway through the evening, I stepped out to use the restroom. On my way back, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A smarmy, slick-haired heir was cornering Ivy, a greasy smile on his face. Ms. Chin, how about a dance? My father is the chairman of Sterling Global, you know. I recognized him. Chad Sterling. In the novel, he was a minor antagonist who constantly harassed Catherine before the hero, Jake Evans, broke his legs. Now that Evans was out of the picture, this clown was apparently still at large. Ivy frowned, taking a step back. I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling, I don't dance. No problem. I can teach you, he said, reaching out to grab her hand. Ivy flinched, trying to pull away. My eyes narrowed, and I started forward, but two shadows moved faster than I did. My bodyguards, appearing out of nowhere, flanked Chad and seized his arms. What the hell? Let go of me. Do you know who I am? He sputtered, a mixture of shock and rage on his face. One of my bodyguards, a man of few words, applied a bit of pressure. There was a sickening crack. Chad let out a scream, like a slaughtered pig, as his wrist bent at an unnatural angle. The entire ballroom fell silent. Everyone stared, horrified. I walked over calmly, took off my suit jacket, and draped it over Ivy's shoulders, pulling her into a protective embrace. It's okay, I whispered. Then I looked up, my gaze falling on Chad, who was now pinned to the floor by the other bodyguard. You dare touch what's mine? My voice wasn't loud, but it carried the chill of a winter wind, dropping the temperature in the room by 10 degrees. Chad, sweating and pale with pain, finally recognized me. Leo Vance. You can't do this to me. My dad is Marcus Sterling. Oh, Marcus Sterling, I said, nodding thoughtfully. I took out my phone and called Chun. Chun, Sterling Global. I don't want it to exist by sunrise tomorrow. There was a beat of silence on the other end, then a grimly determined, yes, Mr. Vance. I hung up and looked down at Chad as if he were an insect. Now you could go tell your father who did this to you. Chad's face went slack with terror. He finally understood the kind of power he had provoked. The other guests were too scared to even breathe, their eyes filled with a new kind of awe and fear. This was what real power looked like. The ability to erase a billion-dollar corporation with a single phone call. I had no more time for trash. I turned to leave, my arm around Ivy. Catherine stepped into our path, her expression a maelstrom of confusion and shock. Leo, you... I didn't even give her a second glance. I walked right past her, leaving her with a single cold sentence. Get out of the way. The news that Sterling Global had imploded overnight sent shockwaves through the business world. No one knew the details, only that it had been a swift and brutal execution. The stock price crashed, credit lines were frozen, partners pulled out, and banks called in their loans. Marcus Sterling, once a titan of industry, was rumored to have aged 20 years overnight as he filed for bankruptcy. And me, the architect of it all, I was at Ivy's shop, helping her taste test a new batch of cream puffs. This cardamom one is good, but maybe a little too sweet, I offered. Ivy just nodded, distracted. Her eyes were fixed on my face. What? Do I have cream on my nose? I asked. She shook her head, hesitating for a moment before asking. Leo, Sterling Global. Was that really you? Yep, I admitted without shame. She gasped, looking at me like I was some kind of monster. I smiled and gently pinched her cheek. What? Are you scared of me now? She stared at me, then shook her head, her expression firm. No, she said, her voice clear and certain. I'm not scared. I know you're not a bad person. You were just protecting me. A warmth spread through my chest. Was this what unconditional trust felt like? No matter how insane my actions seemed to the rest of the world, she would always believe in me. You silly girl, I said, pulling her into my arms and kissing her on the forehead. Catherine Pierce, on the other hand, was not having a good time. She had witnessed the fall of Sterling Global firsthand, and the sheer, overwhelming force of it had left her feeling terrified and powerless. She started digging into my background, trying to understand. But the results only confused her more. My file read like the biography of Slacker. My daily schedule consisted of the gym, restaurants, and Ivy's dessert shop. No secret meetings, no backroom deals. I was a complete outsider. And yet, this slacker could predict a global financial crisis and destroy a billion-dollar empire with a word. How was that possible? Sitting alone in her vast office, Catherine felt a deep, unsettling doubt for the first time in her life. She remembered the mocking look in my eyes when I'd handed her the breakup papers. She remembered me telling her she couldn't afford me. She remembered the tenderness I showed Ivy at the gala and the absolute indifference I showed her. The scenes played over and over in her mind. And suddenly, she realized she had made a catastrophic mistake. She hadn't rejected a loser. She had rejected a dragon hiding in plain sight. He wasn't incapable. He was simply uninterested. And when he finally decided to show his teeth, the world trembled. And she, Catherine Pierce, had personally pushed that dragon away. A wave of regret, so powerful it felt like drowning, washed over her. She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. For the first time, she understood what a broken heart felt like. My relationship with Ivy blossomed. I started calling her Ivy, and she, blushing, started calling me Leo. It felt intimate, special. One day, I was reading a book on old-world brewing techniques when Ivy stormed over, shoving her phone in my face. Her cheeks were puffed out in anger. Leo, look at this. It was a post on some gossip forum. Bombshell. Boy wonder Leo Vance caught cheating. Secret 5-star hotel rendezvous with mystery woman. Attached were a few grainy photos of a man who vaguely resembled me, with his arm around a flashy-looking woman, walking into a hotel. The comment section was a dumpster fire. No way. Is the slacker genius a scumbag? I knew it. Men with money are all the same. I feel so bad for the cute baker girl. Hold on. The pictures are super blurry. This could be anyone. I immediately recognized the guy in the photo. It was one of Jake Evans's old cronies. It was a pathetic, laughable setup. I was about to have Chun shut it down when Ivy snatched my phone out of my hand and logged in her own social media account. Her page, thanks to her shop and her connection to me, had hundreds of thousands of followers. She quickly typed a new post, attached a selfie of the two of us, and hit send. I trust my Leo. Rumors are for fools. Also, for the record, he was with me all last night, taste testing a new cake recipe until 2 a.m. He didn't have time for a hotel. Here's the evidence. The picture was of the two of us in her kitchen, our faces smeared with frosting, grinning like idiots. The post exploded. Yes, Queen, defend your man. This is what true love looks like. Unconditional trust. Case closed. He was on a cake date. I'll take this wholesome content over gossip. Any day. OMG, I'm crying. This is the cutest thing ever. I ship it so hard. Within 10 minutes, the hashtag #ITrustMyLeo was the #1 trending topic. The old rumor was dead and buried, and the person who started it was getting absolutely roasted by an army of angry netizens. I looked at Ivy, who had her arms crossed and a defiant, "I'm a badass," praise me look on her face, and I burst out laughing. I pulled her into my lap and gave her a long, hard kiss. "My Ivy," I said against her lips, "you're the best." She tilted her chin up proudly. Of course. I protect what's mine. God, that felt good. Having a partner who trusts you and has your back, no matter what, is the greatest feeling in the world. That was it. I was going to propose. I was going to make this incredible woman mine, forever. Just as I was secretly planning the perfect proposal, the long-forgotten hero of the novel, Jake Evans, made a reappearance. By some fluke, he'd gotten out of jail and managed to secure backing from a foreign hedge fund. He cobbled together the remnants of the companies I'd dismantled into a so-called Revengers Alliance and publicly declared war on me. Their first move was a hostile takeover bid for Vance Industries. The market was flooded with rumors about my company's imminent collapse. The stock started to slide. Chun and the other executives were in a state of high alert, holding emergency meetings around the clock. And me? I was at a farm upstate with Ivy, unplugged from the world. We were feeding chickens, picking vegetables, and learning how to cook over an open fire. I'd even found an old farmer who taught me the traditional way to brew hard cider. My phone had been off for days. The world could be ending. It wouldn't distract me from this time with my future wife. Ivy watched me expertly chop vegetables and manage the fire, her eyes full of adoration. "Leo, is there anything you can't do?" "Just the basics," I said, showing off my knife skills with a calm exterior, but inwardly preening. All those years of cooking for myself to save money in my past life were finally paying off as a top-tier courtship skill. Our idyllic retreat was shattered when Chin showed up, looking like he'd run the whole way from Manhattan, with a posse of panicked executives in tow. "Mr. Vance, my dear Mr. Vance, why are you hiding out here? The company is being stolen out from under us." Chin looked like he was about to collapse. I frowned. What could possibly be so important? "It's Jake Evans. He's backed by the Scion Capital Group, and they're trying to buy us out. They've already acquired 20% of our publicly traded shares." "Oh, only 20%, I said, tossing the freshly picked greens into a sizzling pan. I thought it was something serious. Chun and the executives stared at me, dumbfounded. "Sir, this isn't a joke. We have to launch a counteroffensive immediately, or it will be too late," one of the VPs pleaded. I glanced at him. "What's the rush? Do you remember that directive I gave you all a while back? To buy up any promising, undervalued companies you came across." Chin's eyes went wide as a flicker of understanding crossed his face. "Sir, are you suggesting?" "Just check. That foreign hedge fund, Scion Capital. Is it possible we're already their majority shareholder?" As if on cue, Chin's phone rang. He answered it, and his expression shifted from shock to wild joy to something bordering on religious worship. Yes, Mr. Vance, you are a god." He hung up, so excited he could barely speak. Last month, we finalized the acquisition of a controlling interest in their parent corporation. We own them. We're their boss." The farm went completely silent. Every executive was looking at me like I was a deity. I just calmly stirred the vegetables in the pan. "Well, there you go," I said without turning around. "Let them fight amongst themselves. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to make dinner for my fiancée. Winning by doing nothing. It really is that simple." Jake Evans's Revengers Alliance became the biggest joke on Wall Street. The very ammunition he was using to attack my company was being supplied by my company. He was a clown, screaming his heart out on stage, completely unaware that the audience and the man who owned the theater were one and the same. When the truth came out, Jake had a complete mental breakdown and was committed to a psychiatric hospital. And my title, Leo Vance, the god of doing nothing, became the stuff of legend. Everyone wanted to know my secret. They'd never understand. It was just a combination of having the script, having a team of hyper-competitive overachievers, and, most importantly, having an angel by my side who brought me all the luck in the world. With that little distraction out of the way, my proposal plan went into full swing. I booked a private island in the Caribbean and had it decorated with 9,999 roses. When I got down on one knee and presented her with a ring I designed myself, Ivy burst into tears and nodded so hard I thought her head would fall off. The news of our engagement, thanks to Chin's big mouth, spread like wildfire. The wedding was a massive affair. I saw Catherine in the crowd. She was alone in a corner, wearing a simple dress, looking faded and small. She had lost weight, and the sharp, icy glare she once had was gone, replaced by a dull, hollow sadness. During the ceremony, as I slid the ring onto Ivy's finger and gave her a deep, loving kiss, the hall erupted in applause. I looked up, and my eyes accidentally met Catherine's. I saw the shimmer of tears in her eyes, the raw regret and pain she couldn't hide. I felt nothing. I simply held up the hand that was now intertwined with Ivy's and gave my wife a doting smile. I saw Catherine physically flinch, her face turning ashen. She finally understood. She had lost me. Completely and forever. Perhaps that was the best punishment for her pride. My ultimate revenge wasn't to defeat her, but to let her watch me be happy, knowing that happiness could have been hers. There's nothing more devastating than that. Our wedding was called the wedding of the century. For me, it was just another milestone on my path to ultimate relaxation. After the wedding, I took my slacker philosophy to its logical conclusion. I completely abdicated my responsibilities at the company, leaving it in the capable hands of Chun and his team of workaholics. My life became about traveling the world with my beautiful wife and exploring new cuisines. Ivy expanded her dessert shop into a successful chain, becoming a celebrated pastry chef in her own right. We'd occasionally post snapshots of our life on social media. Me grilling fish for her on a beach, her knitting me a scarf against a backdrop of snow-capped mountains. Each post was met with a flood of envious comments. Leo Vance woke up yet day 365 check-in. Today he's watching the Northern Lights with his wife, and my stock portfolio is up another 10%. Stop being so cute. My screen is getting sticky from all the sweetness. This is what marrying for love looks like. I'm not crying, you're crying. Our pets, Barney and Pudding, even had a litter of puppies and kittens, which the internet dubbed the fruits of a love that transcends species. One day, I was at the grand opening of Ivy's new flagship store. In the crowd across the street, I saw a familiar figure. It was Catherine. She was dressed in casual clothes, stripped of her former power suit armor. She just looked normal. She didn't approach, just watched from a distance as I wiped a smear of cream from the corner of Ivy's mouth. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second. I didn't look away. I didn't gloat. I just gave her a polite, distant nod. Then I turned back to my wife, back to my life. Her journey, her regrets, had nothing to do with me anymore. Everyone pays the price for their choices. I just happened to choose the easiest path. The path of lying down next to the person I love and never getting up. Years later, the sun is warm on my private island. I'm lounging in a beach chair, a grill I built myself, sizzling with freshly caught fish. Ivy is next to me in a flowing sundress, watching me with a smile that still makes my heart race. Our kids are chasing each other down the beach, Barney and Pudding lazing at their feet. Chin calls, "Mr. Vance, we did it." Vance Industries is officially #1 on the Fortune 500. His voice is thick with emotion. "Oh," I say, flipping a fish. "Good to know. Sir, is that all you have to say?" I think for a moment. Yeah, the fish is almost done. Make sure that new flavor of gelato I order gets flown in by tomorrow. And stop calling me with these minor updates. I'm busy living my life. I hang up and slide half the grilled fish onto Ivy's plate. She takes a bite, her eyes lighting up. Delicious. I smile. What a success. Topping the Fortune 500? Having more money than God? No. For me, success is this. My wife by my side, my children laughing, good food, and a gentle breeze. Achieving the greatest possible success with the least possible effort. That's the true meaning of winning. That was the perfect life I wanted. The setting sun paints the ocean in shades of gold and orange. I look at Ivy's face, illuminated by the warm light, and feel a profound sense of peace. My life is just beginning. My life is already perfect. End.